So we are going to talk about explicit details from a text, okay? So we're going to start with using an excerpt from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You guys have it in a Google Doc in front of you, whereas I have it from the website. For some reason, this website is blocked. So we are going to read through this excerpt, and then we're going to talk about it. So remember, an excerpt is just a small section from a larger piece of writing. So an excerpt is just a small chapter or a paragraph from a chapter or a chapter from a whole novel. That's what you guys are going to see on NWA and iLearn and things like that. You're going to see excerpts of things. So this excerpt is from chapter 22, and then it gives you a little bit of background information. How many of you guys have seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory before? So you already probably have some background information, but if not, that's okay. That's why it gives you a little bit of this. So it says, at this point in the story, 2 of the children are already gone. Augustus, if you've ever watched the movie, he gets sucked up that tube from the chocolate river. And then Violet chews the gum, turns into a blueberry. She gets rolled away and then squeezed and juiced, right? So now Mr. Wonka is rushing his slightly smaller tour group through the maze of factory corridors, whizzing them past thousands of rooms with the strangest titles on their doors. And so because I'm using my iPad to record, I'm going to go stand back by my desk so I can scroll down while I read. And you guys follow along on your iPads. Cows that give chocolate milk, it said on the next door. Ah, my pretty little cows, cried Mr. Wonka. How I love those cows. But why can't we see them? Asked Veruca Salt. Why do we have to go rushing past all these lovely rooms? We shall stop in time, called out Mr. Wonka. Don't be so madly impatient. Busy lifting drinks, it said on the next door. Oh, those are fabulous, cried Mr. Wonka. They fill you with bubbles, and the bubbles are full of a special kind of gas. This gas is so terrifically lifting that it lifts you right off the ground just like a balloon. And up you go until your head hits the ceiling, and there you stay. But how do you come down again? Asked little Charlie. You do a burp, of course, said Mr. Wonka. You do a great, big, long, rude burp. And up comes the gas, and down comes you. But don't drink it outdoors. There's no knowing how high up you'll be carried if you do that. I gave some to an old Oompa Loompa once out in the backyard, and he went up, up, and disappeared out of sight. It was very sad. I never saw him again. He should have burped, Charlie said. Of course he should have burped, said Mr. Wonka. I stood there shouting, burp, you silly, burp, and you'll never come down again. But he didn't, or couldn't, or wouldn't, and I don't know which. Maybe he was too polite. He must be on the moon by now. On the next door it said, square sweets that look round. Wait, cried Mr. Wonka, skidding suddenly to a halt. I am very proud of my square sweets that look round. Let's take a peek. Okay, so you read this excerpt, right? So tomorrow, or today, depending on when you're doing this activity, you're going to read, and then you are going to fill out this. So this is, you're going to make a copy of it, and this is standard, let me present it really quickly. Standard 1. So standard 1 states that you can cite text evidence to support the analysis of explicit statements. That's the academic mumbo jumbo, right? That's pretty much saying that you can use evidence from the text to support something that's explicit. Now we're going to pay attention to that word explicit because we see it here, 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 right? What does the word explicit mean? Anybody know? Okay. If it tells you to, it's an explicit statement, it is the direct statement. It is a clear, concise, direct. If I give you explicit directions, I'm giving you very specific directions. I'm explicitly telling you to do something. You need to do exactly as I say, exactly as I told you. So an explicit statement from the text is going to be a statement from the text, word for word. You use the entire thing. So we're going to do an example together. So when you're doing your book, you're going to analyze your book, the chapter or the 2 chapters or 3, depending on what you had to read. You're going to identify 4, so there's 4 boxes, right? 4 explicit things. Enter them in the left column. Then on the right, cite evidence to support and explain why you chose it. So what is an explicit, important statement from this excerpt? Go ahead and look through it. Tell me, what is something that's super important? I have one that I'm thinking of. Anybody find one? Okay, when I'm looking at this, I am going to look down and I am going to look almost to the end where it says, you do a burp, of course. That is my explicit statement. So I'm going to put that in. You do a burp, of course. This is exactly what it says in the text, right? This is word for word. I wrote it exactly like it is in the text. It's explicit. Why is this important? Why is this statement important?
Because it's how you stop floating.
Yeah, so text evidence, why the statement is important. It's important. So this statement is important because it tells the reader how to stop floating, right? This is foreshadowing. This is going to be important later in the book or in the movie if you watch the movie, because if you watch it, you know, Charlie drinks some and floats and then they have to burp to get down. So it's important because it tells the reader how to stop floating. Here's what happens. Many of you you just write down something. You have to do it. You want to hurry up and get it done. So you just pick something from the book and you throw it up here. And it doesn't make sense. Okay? It doesn't make sense what you're putting up here. And then, why is it important? Because it's funny. Because I made a connection. Because, those are not reasons on why it's important. Why is it important to your understanding? Why is it important to the story? Okay? Or the excerpt, or the chapter, or whatever. Just putting because I liked it is not a reason. You need a reason from the text on why it's important. So in the text, they're talking about the Oompa Loompa who floated into the sky. And they're like, well, why didn't he just burp? It's important to know you just burp to get down, right? So it's important to the text. Does that make sense? So for citing textual evidence, you are going to use an explicit, word for word, simple, concise, important from the text. And then you're going to tell me, why is it important to the text? How does that help with your understanding? Okay? So that tomorrow, your e-learning, this is what you're doing. Or if you're watching this video, you're doing it at some other point for your e-learning. Or you're watching it as a review. So if you get home and you don't remember what to do, okay, I will have this video published on Canvas so you have a chance to watch that. All right? Any questions?